Lisa Martinez stood quietly at the back of the bridge, watching the alien crew members work around her like she was invisible. The massive view screen showed the endless black of space, dotted with distant stars, but nobody asked for her opinion about their current mission. Nobody ever did. The research vessel Horizon Dawn was supposed to be the most advanced ship in the Galactic Research Consortium fleet. Lisa had been excited when Earth's government selected her for this mission. She was their best expert on alien life forms, with 3 degrees and 15 years of field experience. But after 6 months on this ship, she felt more like unwanted cargo than a valued crew member. Dr. Kellen Vross, the tall, blue-skinned Zephyrian who commanded the mission, barely looked in her direction when he spoke. Human Martinez, update. The data files from yesterday's atmospheric readings. His voice carried the same tone someone might use when asking a child to clean their room. Lisa bit back her frustration. Those atmospheric readings contained important information about the toxic gas clouds they were studying. She had spotted 3 significant patterns that the automated systems missed completely. But when she tried to mention them yesterday, Commander Vross had waved her away without listening. The other crew members weren't much better. The crystalline Vortani treated her like she might break if they spoke too loudly. Their translator devices turned their musical chiming sounds into words, but Lisa could hear the condescending tone even through the electronic conversion. They thought humans were fragile creatures who somehow got lucky enough to discover space travel. Lieutenant Zara Kempf, a 6-armed being from the Helix sector, actually laughed when Lisa suggested they analyze the mineral compositions differently. Humans always want to complicate simple things, she had said. Your species has been in space for what, 50 years? We have been exploring the galaxy for thousands. The worst part was that Lisa knew she could help them. Every day she watched the crew make mistakes that seemed obvious to her. They approached problems in the same rigid way, following procedures that didn't account for unexpected variables. When Lisa grew up on Earth, she learned that nature never followed the rules. Survival meant adapting quickly when things went wrong, but here, adaptation seemed like a foreign concept. The aliens had technologies that could do amazing things, but they panicked when those technologies encountered something unexpected. Last week, their mineral scanner malfunctioned during a simple asteroid survey. The crew spent 4 hours trying to fix it, while Lisa sat there knowing she could identify most of the minerals just by looking at their color and crystal structure. Nobody asked her opinion. Human Martinez, Commander Vross said again, pulling Lisa from her thoughts. Did you complete the data entry I assigned you? Yes, sir, Lisa replied. I also noticed some interesting patterns in the atmospheric data that might indicate. The automated systems will catch any important patterns, Vross interrupted. Please focus on your assigned tasks. Lisa felt heat rise in her cheeks, but kept her voice steady. Of course, Commander. She returned to her workstation in the corner of the bridge. Her station was smaller than the others, with older equipment that the crew considered adequate for human capabilities. Lisa had learned to work around its limitations, but the constant reminder of her second-class status wore on her patience. The bridge suddenly filled with urgent beeping sounds. Lieutenant Kent's 6 arms moved rapidly over her console while she spoke in rapid, worried tones. Commander, we are receiving a distress signal. Vross moved to the main communication panel, put it through the speakers. Static crackled through. The bridge before a desperate voice came through. This is Survey Team Delta 7 calling any consortium vessel. We are trapped on Kepler 442c. Our ship is damaged, and we cannot evacuate. The planet's life forms are extremely hostile. We have lost 2 team members already. Please, anyone who receives this message, we need immediate rescue. The bridge fell silent, except for the soft humming of the ship's systems. Lisa had heard of Kepler 442c. It was classified as an extreme hazard world, the kind of planet where Most consortium species couldn't survive for more than a few hours without extensive life support systems. What is Survey Team Delta 7 doing on a Class 8 danger world? Asked Dr. Nina Frost, the ship's pale Arcturian medical officer. Ross checked his records. They were conducting a long-range biological survey. The mission was supposed to last only 6 hours, with full environmental protection. How long have they been down there? Lisa asked. Ross glanced at her with surprise, as if he had forgotten she could speak. According to this, 43 hours. Lisa felt her heart sink. 43 hours on a world like Kepler 442c would push even the best equipment to its limits. If the survey team's ship was damaged, their environmental systems might be failing. We have to help them, Lisa said. The bridge crew exchanged glances that Lisa recognized. It was the look they gave each other when the naive human said something particularly foolish. Human Martinez, Ross said slowly. Kepler-442c is not like the safe worlds your species is familiar with. The gravity is crushing, the atmosphere is toxic, and the native life forms are exceptionally dangerous. Even our best equipment struggles to function there. So we just leave them to die? Lisa asked. We will contact the nearest military vessel. Ross replied. They have specialized rescue equipment designed for extreme environments. Lieutenant Kent pulled up the star charts. The nearest military ship is the battlecruiser Titan's Edge. At maximum speed, they could reach us in 72 hours? 72 hours? Lisa stood up from her workstation. Those people will be dead long before then. Human Martinez, Dr. Frost said gently. You must understand that some environments are simply too hostile for rescue operations. KEPL ER442c has defeated 3 previous rescue attempts. The planet kills everything that tries to land on it. Lisa felt something cold settle in her stomach. She looked around the bridge at the faces of beings from species that had mastered space travel before Earth even developed agriculture. They were all brilliant, technologically advanced, and completely convinced that this rescue was impossible. What? If we tried a modified approach? Lisa suggested. I could review the planet's data and maybe find. Absolutely not, Ross said firmly. Humans would last perhaps minutes on a true Deathworld. Your species evolved on a garden planet with gentle weather and harmless animals. You have no experience with genuinely hostile environments. Lisa opened her mouth to argue, then closed it again. Garden planet? Gentle weather? Harmless animals? She thought about the hurricanes that regularly devastated Earth's coastlines. The earthquakes that could level entire cities. The volcanoes that turned day into night with their ash clouds. She thought about the predators that still hunted in Earth's forests and oceans. Creatures that could kill a human in seconds if they weren't careful. But looking around the bridge, Lisa realized that none of these aliens knew the truth about Earth. Somehow, in all the diplomatic exchanges and cultural briefings, nobody had bothered to mention that humans came from one of the most dangerous planets in the known galaxy. I volunteer for the rescue mission, Lisa said quietly. The bridge erupted in what could only be described as alien laughter. Even the usually serious Fortani made chiming sounds that their translators converted into amused chittering. Lisa, Commander Ross said, using her first name for the first time in months. That is very brave, but completely impossible. The rescue team would spend more time protecting you than actually conducting the rescue. Lisa nodded slowly and returned to her workstation. But her mind was already working, accessing the ship's database and pulling up files that most of the crew had never bothered to read. Files about Earth's original classification. When humans first made contact with the Galactic Consortium. Files that told a very different story about the little blue planet in the Sol system. The distress signal continued to repeat in the background, growing weaker with each transmission. Lisa listened to the fear in the voices of the trapped survey team while the bridge crew debated the impossibility of mounting a rescue. They had no idea what they were dealing with. But Lisa was about to show them. Lisa worked quietly at her station, while the bridge crew continued their debate about the impossible rescue. Her fingers moved across the console, accessing files that had been buried deep in the ship's database. Most crew members never bothered to read the detailed classification reports about member worlds. They relied on the simple summaries that listed basic facts like population and technological level. But Lisa was looking for something specific, something that would change everything. The atmospheric composition alone would kill most species. Within minutes, Lieutenant Kent was saying, her 6 arms gesturing dramatically. The oxygen levels are toxic, and the pressure variations would crush our respiratory systems. Commander Vross nodded gravely. Even if we could survive the atmosphere, the gravitational field is nearly twice what most of our species can handle. And the native predators have evolved specifically to hunt anything that moves. Dr. Frost pulled up holographic displays showing Kepler 442c's environmental data. Look at these temperature fluctuations. The planet swings between freezing and boiling within hours. No civilized species could adapt to such chaos. Lisa found what she was looking for. Her heart began beating faster as she read through the original first contact reports from 50 years ago. Earth's initial classification had been filed by a junior administrator who clearly understood the significance of what he was documenting. But somehow, over the decades, this information had been forgotten or ignored. She took a deep breath and stood up. Commander Vross, I need to show you something. Human Martinez, we are in the middle of important planning, Vross replied without looking at her. Please return to your duties. This is about the rescue mission, Lisa said more firmly. I think there's information you need to see. The bridge crew turned toward her, with expressions ranging from annoyance to mild curiosity. Lisa walked to the main display console and began uploading the files she had found. I've been reviewing the classification data for Earth, she said. The real classification data, not the simplified versions used in most databases. Lisa, Dr. Frost said. Gently, we already know about Earth. It's a pleasant garden world with moderate climate and peaceful development. Very suitable for a young species just beginning to explore space. Lisa shook her head. That's not what the original reports say. The main screen flickered as Lisa's files loaded. The first display showed Earth's gravitational measurements compared to galactic standards. A collective gasp echoed through the bridge. Earth's surface gravity is 1.3 times the galactic average, Lisa read aloud. Most consortium species would require mechanical assistance to walk normally on Earth's surface. Commander Vross stepped closer to the screen, his blue skin paling. Slightly. That cannot be correct. Humans appear so fragile. Lisa pulled up the next file. Earth's atmospheric pressure at sea level is 1.8 times the consortium standard. The oxygen concentration is actually toxic to most galactic species without filtration systems. The crew stared at the data in stunned silence. Lisa continued loading. Files, each one revealing more shocking information about humanity's home world. Earth experiences regular geological instability, she read. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and severe weather systems that exceed the danger classifications of most known worlds. The planet's magnetic field fluctuates dramatically, causing radiation exposure that would be lethal to many species. Lieutenant, Kent's 6 arms had stopped moving entirely. But humans live there naturally. How is this possible? Lisa smiled grimly and pulled up the biological classification report. According to this assessment, Earth's biodiversity includes over 8 million species engaged in constant predator-prey relationships. The planet's ecosystem is based on what the report calls aggressive survival competition. She clicked to The next page, which showed images of Earth's predators. The bridge crew recoiled as they saw photographs of great white sharks, grizzly bears, lions, and crocodiles. "These creatures share the same environment as humans?" Dr. Frost whispered. "Humans evolved alongside them," Lisa explained. "We didn't just survive in the same environment as these predators. We learned to hunt them." Commander Vross was reading the classification code at the bottom of the screen. His hands trembled slightly as he spoke. "This shows Earth classified as a Class 9 Deathworld. That classification is reserved for planets so hostile that complex life should be impossible. There are only 12 known Class 9 worlds in the entire galaxy," Lieutenant Kent said in a voice barely above a whisper. "Nothing civilized has ever survived on any of them." Lisa nodded. "Earth is the only Class 9 world that not only supports complex life, but actually produced a spacefaring civilization." She pulled up more files showing Earth's weather patterns. The crew watched in horror as they saw footage of hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards, and floods that regularly swept across the planet's surface. "Humans live through these events?" Dr. Frost asked. "We call them seasonal weather," Lisa replied. "Children go to school during blizzards that would shut down most galactic civilizations. We build our cities knowing that earthquakes and storms will test them regularly." She showed them video footage of humans engaging in what Earth considered normal recreational activities: rock climbing, whitewater rafting, skiing down steep mountains, swimming in oceans with strong currents, and dangerous marine life. "You do these things for fun?" Commander Vross asked in disbelief. "We call it getting exercise," Lisa said. "Human children participate in activities that would be considered extreme survival training by most galactic species." The bridge fell, silent as the crew absorbed this information. Lisa could see them looking at her with new eyes, suddenly noticing things they had missed before. Her easy movement in the ship's artificial gravity that was actually lighter than Earth normal. Her calm breathing of air that was cleaner and more filtered than anything she had grown up with. Her comfortable adaptation to the climate-controlled environment that kept conditions more stable than Earth's constantly changing weather. "If this is accurate," Ross said slowly, "then humans are not fragile newcomers to the galaxy. We're survivors from one of the most hostile environments known to exist," Lisa confirmed. "Every human has been trained from birth to handle conditions that would kill most other species." She pulled up the final file, which contained the original First Contact Team's recommendations. The initial assessment suggested that humans might be uniquely qualified for exploration of extreme environments that other species consider impossible. Lieutenant Kent was reviewing the data on her personal console. According to this, human physical capabilities include resistance to pressure changes, adaptation to variable atmospheric conditions, and enhanced reflexes developed through constant environmental threats. "We also have what the report calls exceptional problem-solving abilities under stress," Lisa added. "Because on Earth, poor decision-making during emergencies usually meant death." Dr. Frost was staring at the images of Earth's predators. "You actually coexisted with creatures like these?" "We domesticated some of them," Lisa said simply. "The smaller ones we keep as pets. The larger ones we learn to avoid or hunt depending on the situation." Commander Vross turned away from the screen and looked directly at Lisa. For the first time since she had joined the crew, she saw respect in his eyes instead of condescension. "Human Martinez," he said formally, "in light of this information, I need to reconsider our rescue options. The survey team on Kepler 442c is trapped on a world that seems impossible to most galactic species," Lisa said. "But compared to Earth, it might just be challenging." The distress signal continued to repeat in the background, weaker now, but still reaching them across the void. The crew that had been ready to wait for military backup was now looking at their human colleague with entirely different expectations. How long would you need to review Kepler 442c's environmental data? Ross asked. Lisa was already moving toward the planetary analysis station. Give me 2 hours, and I'll tell you exactly how to get those people out alive. For the first time in months, Lisa felt like a valued member of the crew instead of unwanted. Cargo. The aliens finally understood what they were dealing with. Earth hadn't produced weak explorers who needed protection. Earth had forged survivors who could handle anything the galaxy threw at them. The Shuttle Bay Ranger dropped through Kepler 442c's atmosphere like a stone falling into acid. Lisa sat calmly in the pilot's seat, while the 3 alien crew members behind her struggled with increasing panic. Outside the viewports, orange and green clouds swirled in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Environmental suits at maximum protection, Dr. Frost announced, her voice tight with fear even through the comm system. Atmospheric toxicity readings are climbing beyond safe levels. Lisa glanced at her own simple breathing mask and light protective gear. While her crewmates wore full environmental suits that made them look like walking tanks, she had chosen equipment barely more advanced than what Earth hikers used in dangerous weather. The air outside was toxic, but not more toxic than the volcanic gas clouds she had walked through during her geological surveys on Earth. Gravity approaching 2.1 Earth standard, Lieutenant Kent reported. Her 6 arms moved slowly now, fighting against the crushing weight that was making every motion difficult for her. How are you managing this so easily, Human Martinez? Lisa shrugged, though the movement was lost inside her light suit. 2.1 is heavy, but not impossible. I trained in conditions up to 3 times Earth gravity during my cave rescue. Certification? Commander Voss was checking his suit's power levels for the 5th time in 10 minutes. My life support systems are already working at 60% capacity just to keep me conscious. How long can humans function in these conditions? As long as necessary, Lisa replied simply. She was monitoring the shuttle systems while simultaneously reading the terrain below them. The planetary surface looked like something from a nightmare, but she had seen similar landscapes in Earth's most hostile regions. Volcanic zones where the ground shifted constantly. Deep jungle areas where every plant and animal competed violently for survival. Ocean trenches where the pressure could crush unprotected humans instantly. The shuttle broke through the cloud layer, revealing Kepler 442c's surface in all its terrible glory. Twisted rock formations jutted up like broken teeth. Rivers of liquid that might have been water or acid carved channels through landscapes that seemed to change even as they watched. In the distance, massive creatures moved between forests of plants that reached toward the sky like grasping fingers. Look at the size of those life forms, Dr. Frost whispered. Lisa studied the moving shapes through the shuttle's enhanced viewers. The creatures were large, probably weighing several tons each, but their movement patterns were familiar. They moved like the large herbivores she had observed in Earth's African grasslands, just scaled up dramatically. They're grazers, she said. Probably not aggressive unless we threaten them or their territory. How can you tell? Commander Voss asked. Body language, Lisa explained. On Earth, you learn to read animal behavior quickly. These creatures are moving in herds, staying together for protection. That means there are predators around, but also that they're not the main threat. The shuttle's scanners located the survey team's crashed vessel in a rocky canyon about 15 kilometers from their landing site. Lisa could see the problem immediately. The survey ship had tried to land in what looked like a safe area, but the canyon walls were unstable. Recent rockfalls had blocked both ends of the canyon, trapping the survivors inside with their damaged ship. We can land on the ridge above the canyon, Lisa said, already plotting their approach. Then rappel down to reach the survey team. Rappel? Lieutenant Kent's voice pitched higher with alarm. "You mean descend down the cliff face using ropes?" "It's the fastest way down," Lisa replied. "The canyon walls are too unstable for the shuttle to land inside, and walking around would take too long." Dr. Frost was studying the terrain scan. "The rock face appears to be over 200 meters of vertical descent. In this gravity, with unstable geology, that seems extremely dangerous." Lisa smiled, though none of them could see her face through the breathing mask. "I've done emergency rescues in similar conditions on Earth. The main difference here is that the gravity will actually help with the descent speed." She brought the shuttle down on a relatively flat section of the ridge. The landing was rougher than on most civilized worlds, but Lisa had learned to fly in Earth's unpredictable weather conditions, where smooth landings were a luxury rather than an expectation dot. As soon as they stepped outside the shuttle, the alien crew members began struggling. The gravity that Lisa had described as heavy but manageable was crushing them despite their powered suits. The ground beneath their feet shifted constantly as small rocks fell from higher elevations. The air itself seemed hostile, filled with particles that made their equipment work harder just to maintain basic life support. Lisa moved across the unstable terrain like she was taking a casual walk. Her steps were sure and confident, finding stable footing on surfaces that looked treacherous. She had spent years walking across Earth's earthquake zones and volcanic slopes. This planet was dangerous, but in ways she understood instinctively. "How are you moving so easily?" Commander Voss asked, breathing heavily despite his suit's assistance. "Experience," Lisa replied. She was setting up rappelling equipment with practiced efficiency. "On Earth, we call this kind of terrain challenging hiking conditions. You learn to read the ground, test each step, and keep your balance when the surface moves under you." A distant roar echoed across the landscape, followed by crashing sounds. That suggested something very large was moving through the forest below them. The alien crew members froze in terror, their suits beeping warnings about elevated stress levels. Lisa barely paused in her equipment checks. Probably territorial. Display behavior. Something establishing dominance or warning competitors away from its hunting grounds. "Should we not be concerned about that?" Dr. Frost asked. "Only if we wander into its territory," Lisa said. "The survey team's canyon is in the opposite direction from where that sound came from. As long as we don't do anything stupid, we should be fine." She finished setting up the rappelling system and tested the anchor points. The rock was solid enough to hold their weight, though she could feel the constant small vibrations that indicated ongoing geological instability. "Who goes first?" Lieutenant Kent asked, staring down into the canyon with obvious fear. "I do," Lisa said without hesitation. "I need to check the route and make sure it's safe for the rest of you." Before anyone could object, she stepped over the edge and began her descent. The alien crew members watched in amazement as she moved down the cliff face with fluid grace, testing each handhold and adjusting her position to avoid loose rocks. What would have been a terrifying ordeal for them looked like routine exercise. For her, halfway down, Lisa encountered the first real challenge. A section of the cliff face had recently collapsed, leaving a gap where the normal route would have been impossible. She paused for a moment, studying the problem, then swung sideways to find an alternate path around the obstruction. "Human Martinez," Voss called from above, "are you experiencing difficulties?" "Just adapting the route," Lisa replied calmly. "There's some recent rockfall, but I can work around it." She completed the descent in less than 20 minutes, landing safely on the canyon floor. Above her, the alien crew members were still preparing themselves mentally for what they considered an extremely dangerous undertaking. The canyon floor was a maze of fallen rocks and unstable debris. Lisa could hear voices from the survey teams. "Position. calling for help in voices weakened by fear and exhaustion. She began picking her way through the obstacle course of boulders and shifted stone, reading the terrain like a map. Every step had to be tested. Every handhold had to be evaluated for stability. The constant small earthquakes that shook the planet meant that what looked solid could shift without warning. But these were exactly the kinds of conditions that Lisa had trained for during her emergency rescue work on Earth. She reached the survey team's shelter just as her crewmates began their own careful descent from above. The three trapped researchers looked at her with disbelief when she appeared around a pile of fallen rocks. "You came down alone?" one of them asked. "In these conditions?" Lisa was already assessing their situation and planning the evacuation. "Root, help is on the way," she said simply. "Let's get you ready to move." Above them, her alien crewmates were learning what it meant to operate alongside someone who had been forged in the fires of a true Deathworld. The three trapped survey team members were in worse condition than Lisa had expected. Dr. Alan Price, a human geologist, had a broken arm from falling rocks. The two alien researchers, a Vortani named Chorus of Stars and a Zephyrian called Dr. Bexnellen, were suffering from exposure to the planet's harsh environment, despite their protective equipment. "How long have you been trapped down here?" Lisa asked while examining their injuries. 57 hours, Dr. Price replied weakly. "Our ship's landing gear failed when the ground shifted. Then the canyon walls started collapsing around us." Lisa looked up at the narrow strip of sky visible between the canyon walls. The rock faces on both sides showed fresh scars where massive chunks had recently fallen. More concerning were the stress fractures she could see running along the remaining stone. This canyon was not stable. "We need to move quickly," she said. "This whole area could come down at any time." She activated her comm unit to contact the rescue team above. "Commander Vross, what's your status on the descent?" "We are halfway down," came the strained reply. "Dr. Frost is having difficulty with the gravitational stress, and Lieutenant Kent's equipment is malfunctioning." Lisa frowned. At their current pace, it would take another hour for her crewmates to reach the canyon floor. An hour they might not have. A deep rumbling sound echoed through the canyon. But this wasn't the geological instability Lisa had been worried about. This sound was organic, alive, and it was getting closer. What was that? Chorus of Stars asked, their crystalline body flickering with fear colors. Lisa moved to the edge of their shelter and peered around the fallen rocks. At the far end of the canyon, something massive was pushing through the rubble that blocked the main entrance. Something that had been drawn by the sounds of voices and movement in what it probably considered its territory. The creature that emerged into the canyon was a nightmare, fusion of Earth's most dangerous predators. It stood 4 meters tall at the shoulder, with a body like a massive bear, but covered in armored plates like a crocodile. Its head was elongated like a predatory dinosaur, filled with teeth the size of kitchen knives. 6 powerful legs ended in claws that could tear through solid rock. "Everyone stay very still," Lisa whispered into her comm. "We have a territorial predator in the canyon." Above them, she could hear her crewmates' panicked voices as they spotted the creature through their scopes. Commander Vross was calling for an immediate evacuation. Abandoning the rescue attempt, the monster began moving through the canyon, its massive head swinging back and forth as it searched for whatever had invaded its domain. Each step made the ground shake, causing small rock falls from the unstable walls. Lisa studied the creature's behavior with the same calm focus she had learned during wildlife encounters on Earth. This wasn't mindless aggression. The beast was investigating, trying to determine if there was a threat in its territory. Its movements were cautious, intelligent. "Lisa," Dr. Price whispered, "we need to hide until it goes away." "It won't go away," Lisa replied quietly. "This is its hunting ground. It knows we're here, and it's going to keep looking until it finds us. The creature's massive head turned toward their shelter. Lisa could see its nostrils flaring as it caught their scent. In about 30 seconds, it would discover their exact location. "Commander Vross," Lisa said into her com, "I need you to stop your descent and be ready to pull the survey team up quickly." "What are you planning?" Vross replied. Lisa was already moving, checking her equipment and studying the canyon layout. "I'm going to get that thing's attention and lead it away from the shelter." "Lisa, no!" Dr. Frost's voice crackled through the com. "That creature could kill you in seconds." "Not if I'm smarter than it is," Lisa replied. She looked at the trap survey team. "When I give the signal, get to the rappelling lines and start climbing. Don't look back. Don't try to help me. Just get out of this canyon as fast as possible." Before anyone could argue, Lisa stepped out from behind the shelter and into the open canyon floor. The massive predator's head snapped toward her immediately. For a moment that felt like hours, human and alien apex predator stared at each other across 50 meters of broken stone. Lisa could see intelligence in those huge eyes. This creature was evaluating her, trying to decide if she was prey, threat, or something else entirely. Lisa began moving slowly toward the side of the canyon, away from the survey team's position. She kept her movements deliberate and confident, not running like prey, but not advancing like a challenger either. She was communicating in the universal language of predators, establishing herself as something that belonged in this environment. The creature followed her with its gaze, but didn't immediately attack. Lisa could almost see it thinking, trying to categorize this strange new animal that didn't seem afraid. Then she threw a rock. The stone bounced off the creature's armored shoulder with a sharp crack. The beast's head jerked back in surprise and anger. No small prey animal had ever deliberately struck it before. Lisa threw another rock, this one hitting the creature's snout. The predator roared in fury and began charging toward her. "Now!" Lisa shouted into her com. "Get the survey team to the lines." She turned and ran, but not in panic. Every step was calculated, every turn planned. She had studied this canyon's layout during her descent. She knew exactly where she was going. The creature thundered after her, its massive claws tearing gouges in the stone floor. Lisa could feel its breath on her back as she dove behind a large boulder. The beast's momentum carried it past her position, buying her precious seconds. Lisa scrambled up a file of fallen rocks, using her climbing skills to reach a narrow ledge on the canyon wall. The creature spun around and began trying to follow her, but its massive size worked against it in the confined space. "Human Martinez," Commander Vross called urgently. "The survey team is on the lines, but we cannot extract you from your current position." Lisa looked down at the enraged predator clawing at the rocks below her. The creature was intelligent enough to realize it had been tricked, and now it was genuinely angry. It began ramming its shoulder against the rock pile, trying to bring down her refuge. "I'm working on it," Lisa replied. She studied the canyon walls above her position. The stress fractures she had noticed earlier were more pronounced here, running in web-like patterns through the stone. The constant earthquakes had weakened the entire structure. The creature's ramming attacks were making the situation worse, causing vibrations that spread through the rock face. Lisa could see dust and small stones beginning to fall from the cracks. Above Dot, an idea began forming in her mind. It was dangerous, requiring precise timing and a lot of luck. But it was the kind of plan that could only work for someone who had learned to use their environment as a weapon. Lisa began climbing higher, moving toward the largest cluster of stress fractures. The creature followed her, ramming harder against the rocks in its fury. Each impact sent more vibrations through the weakened stone. "Lisa, what are you doing?" Dr. Frost called. "Teaching this thing why humans became the apex predators on Earth," Lisa replied. She reached a position directly below the most damaged section of canyon wall. The cracks above her head were wide enough to put her fingers into. The entire section was held in place by stress and habit rather than actual structural integrity. Lisa pulled out her emergency climbing gear and found her heaviest piton. She positioned it carefully against the largest crack and raised her hammer. "This is for everyone who ever called Earth a garden world," she said, and drove the piton into the fault line with all her strength. The canyon wall exploded. The avalanche of rock and stone crashed down into the canyon like thunder made solid. Lisa pressed herself against the cliff face as chunks of stone the size of vehicles tumbled past her position. The massive predator's roar turned into a sound of surprise and pain as tons of debris buried it beneath the rubble. When the dust finally settled, the canyon floor had completely changed. Where there had been open space and scattered rocks, there was now a mountain of fallen stone that filled nearly half the canyon. The territorial predator was somewhere underneath it all, either dead or trapped so deeply that it would take days to dig itself out. Lisa carefully climbed down from her perch, testing each handhold as loose stones continued to fall around her. Her breathing was steady, her movements controlled. To her alien crewmates watching from above, she looked like someone who had just completed a routine training exercise rather than someone who had triggered a controlled avalanche to defeat a creature that could have killed their entire team. "Human Martinez," Commander Voss called down, his voice filled with something that had never been there before when he spoke to her. "Are you injured?" "I'm fine," Lisa replied, already moving toward the rappelling lines that would take her back up. The canyon wall. The survey team should be at the top by now. We need to get off this planet before the geological instability causes more problems. The climb back up the canyon wall took Lisa 15 minutes. Her alien crewmates, who had struggled with the descent for over an hour, watched in amazement as she ascended the rock face with the same casual efficiency she might use to climb a ladder. When she reached the top, Lisa found the entire rescue team waiting for her in complete silence. The 3 members of the survey team were receiving medical attention from Dr. Frost, but everyone was staring at her with expressions she had never seen before. Commander Voss stepped forward first. His blue skin had lost its usual confident color, and when he spoke, his voice carried a tone of formal respect that he had never used with her before. "Human Martinez," he said carefully, "I need to formally apologize for my treatment of you during this mission. I clearly did not understand what I was dealing with." Lisa removed her breathing mask and looked around at the faces surrounding her. Lieutenant Kent's 6 arms were held in what Lisa recognized as a gesture of submission in her species. Dr. Frost was running medical scans on Lisa with obvious amazement at her completely normal vital signs after what should have been an impossibly stressful encounter. "You don't need to apologize, Commander," Lisa said. "You worked with the information you had." "No," Ross replied firmly. "I worked with assumptions and prejudices. I treated you as inferior because I believed your species was weak and inexperienced. I was completely wrong." Dr. Alan Price, the human geologist from the survey team, spoke up from where he was being treated for his broken arm. "Lisa, how did you know that triggering the rockfall would work? The calculations for that kind of controlled demolition should have taken hours." Lisa shrugged. "I grew up in earthquake country on Earth. You learn to read geological stress patterns when your life depends on it. Plus, I've done avalanche control work in the mountains. The principles are the same, just scaled up." The alien crew members exchanged glances that Lisa was beginning to understand. They weren't just impressed by what she had done. They were starting to realize that what seemed impossible to them was considered basic training for humans. "The creature you defeated," Dr. Bex Nowlin said in a weak voice. "Our preliminary scans suggested it was one of the apex predators on this planet. According to our data, nothing in the known galaxy should have been able to challenge it directly. I didn't challenge it directly, Lisa explained. I used its own aggression against it, then used the environment to eliminate the threat. On Earth, humans learned long ago that you don't have to be bigger or stronger than a predator. You just have to be smarter. Commander Vross was reading something on his personal datapad. I am reviewing the mission records from today. What you accomplished should have been impossible. No single individual from any known species has ever successfully conducted a rescue operation on a Class 9 Deathworld. Because no other species came from a Class 9 Deathworld, Lisa replied simply. The flight back to the Horizon Dawn was quiet, but the atmosphere in the shuttle had changed completely. Where before her alien crewmates had treated Lisa like a burden they had to tolerate, now they sought her opinions on everything from planetary analysis to equipment modifications. Lieutenant Kent spent the entire trip asking Lisa about human survival techniques. How do your people train for situations like this? Are all humans capable of such tactical thinking under pressure? Most humans learn basic survival skills as children, Lisa explained. We call it camping, hiking, or outdoor education. What you consider extreme survival training, we consider normal recreational activities. Dr. Frost was fascinated by Lisa's medical readings during the mission. Your stress hormone levels remained completely normal throughout the entire encounter. Your heart rate elevated only slightly during the direct confrontation with the predator. How is this possible? Adrenaline management, Lisa said. When you grow up in an environment where panic can get you killed, you learn to stay calm under pressure. It's not special training. It's just how humans live. When they docked with the main ship, word of the successful rescue had already spread throughout the vessel. Crew members who had barely acknowledged Lisa's existence for months now stopped in the corridors to congratulate her. The ship's captain, a dignified Arcturian named Captain Stone, personally thanked her for saving the lives of the survey team. But the biggest change came 3 days later, when Commander Vross called Lisa to his ready room for what she expected to be a routine mission debriefing. Human Martinez, he began formally. I have been in communication with the Galactic Research Consortium headquarters. Your actions on Kepler 442c had been reviewed by the highest levels of command. Lisa waited, unsure if she was about to be commended or reprimanded for triggering an avalanche during a rescue mission. The consortium has decided to completely revise their exploration protocols for extreme environment worlds. Vross continued. Effective immediately, all missions to Class 7, 8, and X Deathworlds will require human advisors or human team leaders. Lisa felt her eyes widen. Sir? Furthermore, Vross said, pulling up official documents on his screen, I have been authorized to offer you the position of Chief Survival Specialist for this vessel, with authority over all extreme environment operations. The promotion comes with command rank and a substantial increase in compensation. Lisa stared at the promotion orders displayed on the screen. 6 months ago, she had been assigned to data entry because the crew considered her too fragile for real responsibilities. Now they were offering her command authority over the same operations. There's more, Vross said. The consortium has requested that Earth provide training programs for other species who want to work in extreme environments. They're calling it the Deathworld Survival Certification Program. They want you to design the curriculum. Lisa laughed, and the sound seemed to surprise Vross. 6 months ago, you told me that humans were too weak and inexperienced for dangerous missions. Vross nodded gravely. 6 months ago, I believed that strength came from technology and experience came from age. You taught me that real strength comes from adapting to impossible circumstances, and real experience comes from surviving what should kill you. He paused, then added, The galaxy is full of worlds that we've classified as too dangerous for exploration. Worlds with valuable resources and scientific opportunities that we've ignored because we assumed they were impossible to survive on. But they're not impossible for humans. Lisa looked out the viewport at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there were dozens of worlds that the galactic community considered too hostile for civilization. Planets where the pressure was too high, the gravity too strong, the predators too dangerous, the weather too violent. Planets that reminded her of home. When do I start? She asked. Commander Voss smiled, and for the first time since Lisa had known him, it was a smile of genuine respect between equals. You already have, he said. Welcome to the future of galactic exploration, Chief Martinez. Lisa felt something settle into place in her chest. She was no longer the underestimated human from the backwater Deathworld. She was humanity's representative to a galaxy that was finally beginning to understand what Earth's children were truly capable of. The universe had just become a much smaller place.